So I am a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 little girls, 3, 6, and 9, Avery, Lily, and Shannon. That is my full-time job, and I've been a professional counselor for years now. And I've been working with the eating disorder population, where I get to be with these incredibly intelligent women who are fighting for their lives and facing their greatest fears by trying to overcome their eating disorder. So I really thought my job would just become easier, as I got further into it, as I got older and wiser. But instead I just had this this sensitivity growing in me that made my job harder to be in. It was harder to go to work and hear their stories of what they'd been through and just imagining my daughters experiencing the same thing. So it's been really tough until one day last September 2007, I was listening to the radio during carpool one morning, and it was about this mom who called in about her 9-year-old son who had bad body image. So a therapist called in and gave his advice, and it was all wrong. So I got home and I was shaking. I thought, I'm just going to call that radio station and just straighten them out and give them the right information. And I didn't get through. And this is not something I normally do. I don't normally call into radio stations. That's just not my style. So I did not get through, and I just sat there like this at home when I usually have a morning routine that I go through, but I had no peace. I just felt so restless. I had so much adrenaline running through me, and I thought, what would I say to this woman if I had the chance? And I thought that through, and then I thought, what would I say to everybody if I had the chance? And next thing I know, an hour later, I had this whole talk written out in my head. And I was headed to the gym. I was at the gas station filling up my tank. I just impulsively called the principal of my daughter's school and said, hey, I've got an idea. What if we gathered the parents on a Friday morning and I did this talk? It's going to be about this. What do you think? She said, sure. How about October the 12th? October the 12th came, and I really was excited. I was very passionate about it. I hadn't done public speaking before. But I was just very excited about the material, and I was excited to get it across to these women. So that's what was really fueling me. And I honestly thought that would be the beginning and the end of it. I thought that I would be like, well, that was fun. That's a nice little blip on my career. I wonder how I could put that on my resume. But it didn't end up like that. At the end of the talk, the women were just hanging on the edge of their seats. They wanted to talk more. They wanted more from me. I put them in a restless position, and a lot of them were crying. They were upset about what to do for their daughters, about what to do for themselves. They just felt lost. I had a woman who was crying and talking about her marriage and all this stuff as I was packing up my car. And it was just, I had no idea that the information I'm going to give you tonight had that kind of an impact. And of course, Allie was there, who I think you were a few rows back, but by the end of the talk, you were on the front row. I was up front talking. And she grabbed me at the end. She's like, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something together. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no plan, but I'm just going to call you. But there's another school counselor in the audience that day, and she talked to me afterwards and said, I've got to have you at my school. And that's how it started. That's what started the ball rolling. We had a 10-year-old girl confide in us in front of her friends, and her mom was in the back. I'm so afraid of becoming fat. And we had her trust in like 40 minutes of the first time meeting her, and then we could talk to her about why she doesn't have to be afraid about that. And it was such an amazing experience. We were just shaking in the parking lot, realizing this is what we need to do. So we wrote the curriculum. We were all ready to go, and then next thing you know, we're under the Chelco Foundation, and now we just want to go. According to the National Eating Disorder Association, there's about 8 million women who have anorexia, bulimia, or a binge eating disorder. But NEDA did a really interesting poll. They asked all kinds of women, if you had an eating disorder, would you tell anybody? Guess how many of them said no? All of them, 100%. So now they're wondering, NEDA is wondering, are we up to 15 to 20 million? And really, we're getting the people who don't have an eating disorder. We want to target the people as far as prevention goes, the women who are struggling with body image issues and dieting and that sort of thing. But while there may be some deeper or more spiritual or emotional reasons why a girl becomes obsessed with food and her body, it's really the beauty and the diet industries that fuel the fire with deception that leads to the discontent. And so my work with the eating disorder population and just my life with women and girls has shown me that connection. So I've also learned how we perpetuate these beliefs, these ideas, through body dissatisfaction and dieting. So we are, our culture, we're all a part of this process, and we need some awareness here, and that's what this is about tonight. And these lies that can seriously affect us and our kids by developing over time into a lifelong problem with food or with their body image and possibly even an eating disorder. So if we don't change our behaviors and educate our kids to do the same, we could be setting them up to make potentially fatal mistakes. Because I don't know if you know this, but an eating disorder, it is the deadliest mental illness that you can possibly have. 1 in 3 women die of anorexia. Every time you force yourself to throw up your food, your electrolytes go out of whack. And your heart is at risk of having an instant heart attack. And I do know of someone who did die of that. She was 21 years old. So this is deadly serious stuff. So we want to help prevent this as much as possible.
Can I ask a quick question? Is that 1 out of 3 women who have anorexia die? So it's not 1 out of 3 generally?
They say 10 to 30% of the women who have anorexia die from
Gotcha.
anorexia. Okay. All right. So today what we're going to do is just deconstruct our previous ideas of beauty, and we want to discover some truth. I did mention lies before. I want to give you some truth tonight that you can really live by. But we are not the only ones to be talking about this. The campaign for realbeauty.com, as Ali mentioned, Dove has a short film called Onslaught that I want you to see that just introduces this topic for you. Jean Kilbourne informs us that we're exposed to 3,000 ads a day. We'll spend 3 years of our lives watching commercials. And the advertising industry was worth $180 billion in 1999, yet all of us insist that we're unaffected by these ads. I hear stories daily about young girls and occasionally boys, often as young as 5 years old, complaining of body image issues, and they have misinformed ideas about food. Ms. Kilbourne points out that ads, of course, they're selling products. That's what they're trying to do. But they're also selling values, images, concepts of love and sexuality, romance, success, and most importantly, normalcy. They sell ideas of who we are and who we should be. And for women, the lie that distracts us from our purpose is that the most important thing about us is how we look. My husband pointed it out to me even, and it's just an ad for a new building in Midtown, but it's just using a woman's legs and objectifying her legs as a building. So this is an example of what she's talking about. But she also goes on and talks about how absolutely violent and pornographic these ads are. And she shows how in a lot of these fashion pictures, the death or the murder of a woman actually is shown as glamorous. And I just don't get that connection. Perhaps someday I'll meet someone in the fashion industry that can explain that to me. But I even saw it the other day on television for America's Next Top Model, the Tyra Banks thing that she does. And there are these girls that, get kicked off every week, and they were showing a montage of their pictures. And you can see this on YouTube, but amongst that montage, they all had to do a murder scene. And there was this, woman, very chesty woman, and she was sliced from here to across. And that was her glamorous picture. And Tyra was going on and on about how absolutely beautiful and breathtaking it was. And I'm sorry, I don't get that. It's not a future that I necessarily desire to show my daughters. But these pictures that we see, they're also completely photoshopped. And often what we see, it's not real. And it makes it impossible to achieve that flawless look without surgery, and sometimes not even then. As Naomi Wolf writes in The Beauty Myth, we do not need to change our bodies, we need to change the rules. You do not win by struggling to the top of a caste system. You refuse by being a part of that system. The woman wins who calls herself beautiful and challenges the world to truly see her.
There is nothing in the world that you cannot do. when you believe in you.